instead of coming into that experience blind and coming into that experience saying, I can't remember how this goes. What do I got to do here? You come into this experience with a note from a previous version of yourself. It's like you went back in time and left yourself a note and said, hey, do it this way. Welcome to Your Business is Not Your Boss. I am your host, Geoff Welch, and I help small business owners overcome overwhelm and replace overthinking with intentional action. What is up? I am your host, Geoff Welch, and welcome to Your Business is Not Your Boss. Today, we are going to be talking about the idea of doing your future self a favor. This is something that on the surface sounds silly to me, and yet when I intersected with this idea many, many moons ago, it really struck me as this powerful concept, the concept of thinking about where you're going to be in a day, in a week, in a month, and if there are things you can do today to make it easier for that version of you, for that person. Because I know there are plenty of times that I do things today that will make it harder for that person to be successful. So today we're going to get into a quick idea for how you can help to really set yourself up for success in the future with the choices that you make today. First, I do want to let you know about something pretty exciting that I have in the works right now. It is a new mastermind called Calm, Focused, and Effective. And it's for a very small group of people. So the idea here is that, I work with small business owners all the time that are stressed out, that are overwhelmed, that are really using their time and energy inefficiently, and they don't quite know what they need to change. And so this is a 6-month program. We're going to meet once a month over Zoom, 3-hour sessions, and we're going to walk you through a sequence that in 6 months, you're going to be able to really know how to not only make good choices about what the best things to do are, but how to manage yourself when things don't go to plan, how to figure out how to become more resilient so that you know what you need to do when you're not feeling it on a certain day, right? Like sometimes we all experience that, but the hard part about being your own boss sometimes is the fact that when you're not feeling it, you can just say, not today. And once in a while, that's probably fine. But if it becomes a habit, you really are mortgaging your dreams. You're mortgaging the things that you want to accomplish. Your day is going to be filled with distractions, with interruptions, unless you do something about it. And this is a pathway to that. So in 6 months, you are going to move from, I feel stressed more than I'd like. I feel overwhelmed more than I'd like. I feel like I'm not, the time and energy that I invest, I'm not getting the full return on it, right? I'm not getting as much progress as I'd like to see. And so there's wasted effort. You're going to move from that to feeling calm, focused, and effective. That you can approach your days with a sense of, I know what I need to do, I know how I need to arrange my time in order to get there, and I know how to deal with the distractions of the day. So if you go to geoffwelch.com/mastermind, you can sign up for the wait list right now. Which I encourage you to do so. This is going to be, again, a very small group of people for this first wave, and I probably will keep these small if I continue to do them in the future, but I think it's going to be very, very useful to you as you try to make the most of your time, energy, and focus. So geoffwelch.com/mastermind, get on that wait list, make sure that you are alerted as soon as applications open so that you can be a part of that group. All right. We are squarely in the holiday season at this point. Everyone has a little bit different, frequency maybe about how they do that. Some people have been in the holiday season for 2 months already. Some people, it blew my mind. I can remember as a kid, it blew my mind that there were families that put up a Christmas tree on Christmas Eve. That we were like Thanksgiving to New Year's people. That's kind of what we did. And, we loved seeing presents kind of appear under the tree, and the anticipation was always a big thing. And so the idea that some families literally they just put up a tree the night before Christmas. It was very, very unusual to me. It was like strange to me because it wasn't part of my normal context, right? And so everyone has their own frequency and their own way of dealing with it. But here, in December, we're squarely in that holiday season. And so we recently had some friends over for something, I'm going to say for something we call Friendsgiving, as though no one else has ever done Friendsgiving. Lots of people do Friendsgiving, but we have a group of people that, we've made quite a tradition out of getting together sometime, around Thanksgiving into the beginning of December, and just enjoying a meal together and enjoying time together. And I love this time of year. It is filled to me with good memories. And again, I've always been somebody who really loves the anticipation of a thing. I'm a big believer that if you surprised me with a vacation, while I probably would not turn you down, if you surprised me and said, we're going on vacation tomorrow, there would be a part of me that would sort of miss the fact that I didn't get to anticipate it for days or weeks or months ahead of time, right? I would just be jumping on a plane and going. I think part of it for me really is the anticipation and the planning and the dreaming. Like, that is fun for me. And so I guess it makes sense that a time of year like this, where everything is sort of moving towards this big moment, Christmas morning, that would be something that I enjoy. So as we move towards that, it is the time of year where, decorations go up and all of those kinds of things. And so the thing I want to share with you today is really related specifically to me decorating my house, and it has a very, very apt connection to what we do in our businesses. So I do want to ensure that as I talk about decorating my house, you understand we are headed somewhere. We are headed somewhere that is going to be valuable. So we have a cold storage shed out beside our house, and every year, usually the day before Thanksgiving, I go out there and I'm schlepping in box after box after box of Christmas decorations. And it's usually some variation of cool to cold outside. And I probably should give context for that. Like, I would say a 15 degree to 20 degree day is a cool day, and a 20 below day is a cold day for that, right? It really can vary here in Fairbanks. So where you're at, you may think cool is 62 degrees, and more power to you. Little different experience here. But I bring those boxes in, and because I have not seen the contents of these boxes for about 11 months, when I open the lid on these boxes, there is a part of me that's like, what is all this stuff, right? Like, I try to do a pretty good job of putting it back in an orderly fashion. I'm sure that shocks you that I would be orderly and organized about this, but we keep the boxes labeled with what's inside it. They are clear, so you can still see inside, but you're sort of trying to make heads or tails of what is all this stuff, where does it go, what did we do with it last year? And while we certainly don't need to do the same things every year, I have no problem with variation. If we are going to do the same things as we did last year, if we're going to put the same decorations out, we're going to do it in the same way. I am spending a lot of time trying to remember and figure out what in the world I did last year and how to replicate that this year. When you have a box full of garland and you have garland that goes in 3 different places, it's, what is this? Which garland am I looking at? Strings of lights. Where did these lights go? Because some lights are long enough to fit around this window, but not around that window. That kind of stuff, right? And I am usually the person who is responsible for, sorting all this stuff out. And we don't have a huge house. This is not a massive, elaborate thing. But even in a relatively small house, there are a lot of things to try to reorient myself to and reacclimate myself to as I'm opening these boxes. So you're getting all this stuff out. And it took me far too many years to figure this out, but I'm going to share it with you here so that maybe you can save a few years. Instead of going into this blindly, One year before we took the decorations down for the year, I took pictures of everything. I took pictures of what our doorway looks like and what that window looks like and all the places we had decorations. I just took pictures. I printed them out and I stuck them in the box with the decorations. And some of the lights, I'm a big fan of a good old-fashioned Dymo labeler. Man, I love to print me some labels. And so I figured, why don't I label some of these lights? And so just, around the little plug-in, I put a little note about the location of where these lights went. And the same with the garland. Like, where can I put a tag that reminds me of where this garland goes as opposed to the other garland, right? And here's where I think this has a tremendous parallel to what we do in our businesses. What I'm doing in that moment is I'm saying, I'm going to take an extra 10 minutes, an extra 20 minutes this Christmas, and I'm going to catalog these things so that next year when I open the box, what I'm greeted with is a series of pictures that say, this is how you do it, dummy. This is the thing that you said you wanted to do. Now, again, if we want to do something different, that's fine, because doing something different is creating something new. There's no way to be more efficient about making the new thing because we're inventing it, right? But doing the same thing as you did last year, there's a tremendous opportunity to become more efficient because you've already done it. You've already determined what are some of the best practices? What are the best ways to accomplish this thing that we want to accomplish? And in your business, you have things that you do every day. You have things that you do monthly or quarterly, and you probably have a few things that you do pretty infrequently, but they need to get done every 6 months or every year. And the likelihood that you are going to remember and be like immediately efficient when it comes time to do that thing after you haven't done it for months and months and months is pretty low. So why don't you record what you do, what you need to know, what that future version of yourself, that question they're going to have, right? Like you know in that moment, yeah, I just had this question, 15 minutes ago. If I answer it right now and leave a note for myself, it's like this little time capsule, right? Instead of coming into that experience blind and coming into that experience saying, I can't remember how this goes. What do I got to do here? You come into this experience with a note from a previous version of yourself. It's like you went back in time and left yourself a note and said, hey, do it this way. This is what we've determined works the best. And because this isn't the first time you've ever experienced this, you're going to, like the note, you probably just need parts of it. You just need that thing to get you going. And so the notes don't have to be necessarily elaborate. The documentation doesn't always have to be, incredibly magnificent. It just has to orient you to the questions that you're going to have when you come in blind and ensure that you are on the right footing. So there are lots of things in your business that I would imagine you do because you know how to do them. And sometimes you do them and they take longer than they should because you know how to do them, but you can't remember exactly which tool you used and, what size. Well, one of my favorite things is just making notes in instruction manuals about what size bolts are and stuff. Having to go back through my tools and figure out which size. This is really revealing, right? Like I'm immediately telling you that I don't know what this tool is called. But anyway, with like a wrench set, you got your little 5mm, 10mm, whatever. Making a note about which one of those you need for a given project, that's a small thing, but now I don't have to go figure it out. Now I don't have to necessarily even bring the whole kit over with me. I just need the wrench and the one that works. So there are lots of opportunities for you to do things like that in the processes and systems you use in your business. And I think the day-to-day stuff feels a little more obvious because you're in it all the time. You know what to do because you're doing it over and over again. The things where there is a greater gap, those are the things where, man, really having that documentation dialed in is super helpful because, again, you don't need to waste time trying to remember what you did 6 months ago or last year or whatever. So this does not have to be complicated. This does not have to be, some magnificent system that you've developed. It just has to be a note that you scribble down and put in the box, or you put wherever this thing happens, right? Tape it to the wall. Maybe it's a short little video you film on your phone and you upload that to your Google Drive. Like the only important thing is that it's in a place you can find it, or a place where you will know that you did it. I have made these notes before and then forgotten they exist. And so part of why I print these things out for the holiday stuff is because when I open the box, it's physically there. I cannot forget that I did it. Having those photos somewhere in my camera roll is helpful, but only if I remember they exist. So in this case, I want to print this out and I want to put it in a place where I cannot not know that it exists. That's the only important thing. You have to be able to access it quickly, and you have to be able to know that it exists when you need it. Google Drive, a Google Doc, that's a fantastic place to catalog some of these things. Just make sure you have some way of remembering that. Maybe you put a label on something that says, check Google Drive, or any tool. Like, it doesn't have to be that, obviously. So the opportunity for action here, as you are listening to this and thinking about what should I do? What can I do about this episode, right? Like, what is one thing that you could document this week that would be a favor for your future self? It doesn't have to be your Christmas decorations. But is there something in your business that you find, every time we do this, we kind of have to start over. Every time we do this, I have to explain it to somebody. What if... And again, this is going to take it a step further and move it just past just you knowing how to do it, and offering the fact that if it's documented, there is the possibility that someone else could do it for you. I can tell you, I probably will be the person that does my Christmas decorations. But if I broke a leg, there's all the information needed for someone else to come in and do that thing. If I can't get on the ladder to do stuff, right? All of that stuff exists. So you also are giving yourself the opportunity to delegate it to somebody else and say, here are the instructions. Go here and do that thing. So there are tremendous benefits in doing this favor for your future self, not only to make it easier for you to do it in the future, but also for someone else to be able to take that off your plate. So what is one thing you could document this week that would feel like you're doing your future self a favor? One thing that in a week, in a month, in a year, when you come across this, you're going to say, oh, thank goodness I took the time to do that. This is so helpful. All right? So before I go, I just want to remind you again, this mastermind is coming up. It's going to be a huge help. If you have ever, just let's see if any of these things sound familiar. Have you ever felt stressed out about running a small business? Have you ever felt overwhelmed? Have you ever felt like distraction rules the day? Have you ever felt like you're getting interrupted too much and you can't focus on the thing that matters most? Have you ever wondered what matters most? If any of those things apply to you, this calm, focused, and effective mastermind is for you. It is going to help you figure out how to really dial in what your most important work is, what the greatest value you can add is, what your priorities look like, so that you can optimize for that, you can plan your weeks, you can deal with the distractions and interruptions much more effectively. We're going to get you the ability to do all those things in a 6-month cohort. Okay? Go to jeffwelch.com/mastermind to join the waitlist today. All right. That's it for me. I hope that you go document something and you make your future self proud. All right? But before I go, don't forget, your business is not your boss.